Yeah, how's that?
It's awesome. I love
Is
it. Yeah.
It changed.
Although it's really buy a bunch of like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards and sports cards and things like that. And I'm like, I thought I got away from these when my kids went down.
Yeah, there's a college kid chasing Pokemon. That's something.
Yeah.
Well,
Call to order the Southeast Polk Board of Education regular meeting on September 15th, 2022. It's 5:30 p.m. Karen, can I get roll call
Chad,
here?
Lori,
here,
Bridget,
here,
Rick,
Here.
Whitney,
here.
Brett,
Here.
Tom,
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Letter B, agenda adoption. Dr. Lipnick, I know there are some changes to the agenda.
There is one change. We need to omit item 2C, the modified allowable growth for special education. The state is having issues with the car reporting system, and so they bumped that deadline, and that calculates that number. So we need to wait until that is calculated before we can actually approve it.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Karen?
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes. All right, district vision and mission. Somebody like to read that?
I will.
You will? Okay.
Southeast Polk Community School District will learn, lead, live. Success for college, career, and civic life. Engage all students in learning a challenging curriculum delivered through quality instruction.
Thank you, Lori. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You on to public comments. I'll just read our open forum guidelines. The board recognizes the value of public observation and hearing from individuals on school district matters. It is also important for the board to be able to conduct its meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, free from outside interference. Citizens wishing to address the board will need to complete a public comment card prior to the meeting and give it to the superintendent. The public comments cards are located at the table at the entrance of the meeting. Speakers will normally be limited to 3 minutes for an individual and 5 minutes for an individual that is representing a group. However, these time limits may be modified if pressure of business or other circumstances dictate. The board president will recognize individuals to make their comments at the appropriate time during public comment. When addressing the board, state your name and group if applicable, the topic and the topic to be addressed. During public comment, the role of the board is to listen. Therefore, board members will only receive comments and will not respond to questions or otherwise engage in discussion with speakers. Speakers who make comments are responsible for their own statements and may be subject to legal action for those which are threatening or defamatory in nature. It is expected that speakers will address the board and each other with civility. Aside from recognized speakers during public comment, the role of the public is limited to observing the proceedings of the board. Public observation does not include participation. The board has a significant interest in maintaining the decorum of its meetings. Any individual who does not abide by these rules or otherwise disrupts the meeting may be asked to leave and or referred to law enforcement. All right, first public comment here is Brad Opp. Okay, please state your name and the topic.
Thank you. My name is Brad Opp. I live at 5335 Ford Boulevard in Pleasant Hill. And my topic is September 11th. Call it that. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Like I said, I'm from Pleasant Hill. I have my wife has 7 children, 6 of which are in the school district right now. One is a 2020 graduate of Southeast Polk High School, and it's now a junior at Central College. I stand before you today as a proud military veteran and retiree. I served in the military for 24 years in the U.S. Air Force and in the Iowa Air National Guard. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, I was an instructor pilot stationed at Laughlin Air Force Base in Del Rio, Texas. And I was scheduled to fly 3 training missions that day. And instead, I spent the day with everyone else, watching in horror as the events of that day unfolded and changed America forever. Despite the tragedy and the sorrow of September 11th, America awoke on September 12th to a new sunrise. And we were all united in a common feeling of patriotism and pride for our country and our people. We came together to help each other, and many of our differences seemed to dissolve overnight. And I don't know if you remember that feeling, but we gained incredible respect for our first responders as we learned about the actions they took on that day and the days thereafter. And we said, never forget. This year, some of the children in our district didn't get to talk about September 11th. It fell on a Sunday. So some of my kids did, some of my kids didn't, depending on which grade they were in. And if they did talk about it, it was kind of a glancing discussion. It was not very long. None of the students we have in the district were even alive on that day. So it is our job to teach them about what happened and why it happened. And if we don't do that, I don't know where they're going to find out about it, where they're going to find out. Likewise, 4 Mile used to host a great Veterans Day program, and they have a speaker every year, a military veteran, to talk to the kids. COVID kind of wrecked that. I'm hopeful that this year we'll continue that tradition and bring in family and friends and speakers to talk to the kids. As a nation, we spent the last 21 years at war searching out people wherever we could find it and destroying it. And in the military, we still say never forget. Yet today it seems that we are more divided as a people than ever. I've seen this division slowly approach back into our daily lives and even into the district. I would like to encourage the board to actively work to rekindle the sense of patriotism.
Brad, we're at time if you want to wrap up. Please.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I just would encourage us to all remember that spirit on September 12th and to work towards bringing that back and to use the veterans we have in the community to speak to the kids, to give firsthand knowledge of historical events, because you have that asset in the school district and you can bring those people in to speak in classes or programs that you offer for Veterans Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Nicole Pike. You'd state your name and topic, please.
That's time. I think I can get with it here.
My name is Nicole Pike. And my topic is the Turning Point USA representative that was here at the last board meeting that I am not surprised at all was here because one of our board members helped start a chapter in Johnston earlier this year. I'm shaking because this is really going to be hard for me to talk about because it's exactly what I came and have spoken about time after time. And here we had Turning Point USA here last time, a very nice young lady, well-spoken, but who lied to everyone by claiming that they are a non-partisan group when they are very partisan. They're funded by Republican Party backed. That's all they spew is extreme right extremism. They have a school board watch on their page. They have a teacher's watch on their page where they monitor teachers and school board members and report them and encourage students and people to report them if they don't align with their right extremism and with those very biased and partisan beliefs. And we have somebody who worked to organize one in Johnston. And now it's very convenient that we had somebody show up at Southeast Polk wanting to organize one here. And I want people to think long and hard about a company that wants to train children to come into their schools and be outspoken, which is essentially to bully other students who are LGBTQ and who don't align with their beliefs. And I'm to the point where I'm not going to be able to come in here and talk because I can barely do it now. That packet includes Turning Point USA information and screenshots that you can look and see where they tell kids don't acknowledge, avoid people with hair color that you don't like. We're going to teach and train kids to avoid people with a different hair color. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to encourage people to report teachers who are working hard. That packet also includes Whitney's Facebook posts about Turning Point USA, her posts about LGBTQ and people who are sinful and who will feel the wrath of God. That's what we're bringing to our district. I can't speak eloquently right now. I can speak better on paper because I'm so emotional. And I know she'll use that against me because my emotional pleas don't work. But for somebody who claims to have master's degrees in psychology, to be a human resources professional, and who came here and took an oath to support public schools, and all you do is go and work for defunding public schools and encouraging students. You want to create an organization, a student body that will report your own people here on the board who sit with you and the teachers who serve your kids and who serve my kids. Talk about divisiveness.
We're at time.
That's divisiveness, and it's corroding our system. And I will keep showing up and talking. If I cry, I cry. And I'll keep posting on the Southeast Polk Facebook page, and I will keep showing up.
That's enough. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, on to letter F, consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Bridget got second.
Bridget,
Second.
any questions on the consent agenda?
Welcome back, Osvaldo. So it's nice to see one of our students getting back involved already and shortly after he left. So
Awesome.
fantastic.
All right, Karen?
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
All right, on to old new business. Confirmation of next meeting, we just have one in October on the 13th.
So just confirming there's only one next month.
Yep.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
Karen?
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
All right, letter B, modify allowable growth, LEP, limited English proficiency.
Good evening, board. These numbers just updated in the assembly system, the board system right before this meeting. The current year excess LEP cost exceeding the funding is $517,125 this year. Based on the agenda item written, you can see the past histories over the past 3 years. But this year, again, we would need approval to send this amount to the SBRC for budget considerations for the following year.
I don't think we got a motion yet, so do we want to get a motion on this?
Motion to approve the modified allowable growth LEP limited English proficiency.
We need for
Can
the
you want me to
amount.
say the amount?
Please.
I can't read that amount. Is it different than this? It's the same amount.
517.
It's different.
Yeah, $517,125 during the 2021-22 school year.
Second.
Okay, any questions for Mr. McComb?
So we're paying for last year, right?
This is current year's excess costs of funding, and then we will get the budget ask for the 23-24 school year.
No further questions for me.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, but did you mean to say instead of 2021, 2022, 2022, 2023, or is it? Because I think Rick
Yeah.
asked for clarification. Is that
So the 22-23 school year is what we're in right now.
right?
And those costs, we can't recoup those costs for this budget year because we're just announcing those costs at this point in time. So those, the 517,000 will be for the 23-24 school year, budget year.
And so I read the date 21-22, just FYI on the motion. So I should say 22-23.
We're paying for
Right.
the past, right? I think that's right.
Because it's not approved until 23-24 at the bottom.
The excess funding is that's the correct year,
I said
21,
the right
22.
number, okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Very good.
The financial impact, as it states, the cash reserve levy may be proposed during the 23-24 budget process.
We don't know this year yet because we haven't gone through the certified enrollment process. That'll happen over the next month.
Just
So
like
it's
I
very
said to Rick,
confusing.
finances are very weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Is that clear
Yep.
enough? for-
Very good.
for his month? All right, Karen?
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Right. Letter C, we are omitting. I don't know if there's anything you need to speak about on that. Okay. So we're still waiting on that one. Letter D is the approve the resolution to consider continued participation or in the instructional support program. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution to consider continued participation in the instructional support program. Second.
Just here for
Just here for
questions.
questions. Any questions? Okay. Karen?
Brett,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Okay, on to topics for discussion. Letter A, superintendent report.
Good evening, everybody. Several pieces of good news just to share. I'll start with our building visit. A week or so ago at Mitchellville, we were able to get into every classroom there. A good way to start the year. And just a reminder that the junior high is coming up at the end of this month. I know that there have been some conflicts. That's part of why we moved from the earlier morning, and we'll just kind of keep trying to adjust and communicate those to Chad or me or whoever. So we can continue to work and figure out a way to get opportunities for the most people to be there. But again, we recognize the fact that everybody has your real life and there were other jobs and things like that as well too. So
Do we have the date and time of that junior high visit?
shoot, I didn't write it down on here.
Okay.
I want to say it's the
22nd?
That's
Thursday?
a Thursday. It's on the Tuesday.
Oh, so it's 20th,
27th,
27th?
10 o'clock.
Okay.
The Flying J Travel Center awarded the district a $10,000 grant as part of their remodeling there. We will have a big check ceremony early next week to officially celebrate that. And just kind of a reminder that that allowed us to kickstart the inclusion of computer science in all 8 of our elementary buildings. Obviously, it's an important concept for students to learn about, but it also gives us a chance to teach skills like communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity as well. Those dollars went to purchase Indie robots, which are little kind of cars that can be programmed that helps as they can kind of start working on those programming skills. So that's that. Bit two, speaking of STEM, 2 Southeast Polk teachers recognized as National Outstanding Project Lead the Way teachers, Kim McCoy Parker at 4 Mile and Carrie Anstein at Delaware. Remember, 2 of only 59 total recognized in the entire country were ours. So that's really cool. Next week, there's a Future Ready STEM, the annual conference over at the Iowa Vet Center, and those 2 will be there and recognized as well. So very exciting. The Rams Classic is coming up a week from tomorrow, the 23rd at Terrace Hills. A reminder, that's the fundraiser for the SCP Education Foundation and Dollars for Scholars. And then the next day, also at Terrace Hills on the 24th, the Kiwanis will be holding a fundraiser for Delaware Elementary STEM efforts with mini golf and a golf ball drop. I think the first one to go in the hole is $2,000. And they're $5.
2,000, 1,500 and 1,000. And I have tickets if anybody wants to buy 1 or 4.
And then since we just have the one meeting next month, the homecoming festivities will happen before we have our next meeting. And I wanted to just kind of talk about the Hall of Honor on that ceremony before the game on Friday the 7th. I think those invites went out to everybody on the board. If you didn't, make sure you let us know, and we'll make sure they forward that. This year's honorees are Marla and Jerry Carr and Dennis Parker. If you haven't been to that ceremony, it's a fun ceremony. It's also very touching, and I'd recommend it if you can get there. So
Do you know if Gary's coming back for that?
I don't know.
He's usually at
was
that.
there,
Yeah, he just goes with from the beginning. He's
Right.
been going.
We're kind of hitting full stride of the school year with meetings and events. Had a chance yesterday to attend the Altoona Chamber luncheon where they had the State of the City updates, and it was interesting to listen to both the business and residential growth and projects that are happening around town. I'll be doing the same thing with Pleasant Hill City leadership next week. Talk about the same kind of things. And the next really big thing for us now, as I mentioned earlier, is certified enrollment. That technically will be on Monday, October 3rd. It's always the 1st of October or the first Monday that comes up after that. And that data will be due certified by us on the 15th. Then there's always about a week or so, theoretically, it usually takes more than that for all of the different districts to agree on everything. So that process, remember, determines our funding for next year. And so it's obviously an important one. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
The 3 projects, the stadium, the middle school and the softball, are they on schedule as much as can be?
It's a loaded question.
He said as much as can be.
Like, has anything changed?
Yeah,
in the
maybe that's a
schedule?
better way to put it.
Yeah, no changes at this point that I.
Okay.
You get the turf down yet?
No, I think it's
So that's
end
changed.
of next week. We've got well, on the 13th, we'll have updates on all of this for sure.
Thanks. All right. On to enrollment update, Mr. Horton.
Not much to add tonight, other than 2 quick points, and then certainly we'll take questions if you have them. Obviously, we are up about 75 students overall as of today, as compared to this time last year. That number continues to kind of creep back up, which is kind of nice. But I think it's really reflective of families still coming and going and trying to settle wherever it is that they settle. Secondly, the class sizes and class averages in our elementary schools are in really good shape. And like Dr. Lupnick said, we're off and running and things appear to be good, very good. So that's really all I had that was any different than, it's hard to kind of repackage this conversation, 4 times, but if you ever have any questions, I certainly will field them, and things just look pretty good. They really do. Knock on wood.
Kindergarten's all blue here, so.
Pardon?
I said the kindergarten's all.
Yeah, it is.
All the way
It
across.
is. In fact, somebody asked me the other day, when was the last time we had 20 kids at minimum in kindergarten in every classroom in the district? And I said, I don't think maybe at all, at least in the last 11 years. Now, maybe when we had fewer elementary schools or something like that, and things were very crowded for a while, and Dr. Miller was doing the job that I do, probably way better. But Maybe back then, we would have blued out kindergarten, but not, at least not in the last 11 years. So it's nice to see that dispersal of kids.
It's nice to see Mitchellville and Runnels at capacity.
Exactly.
And it looks like 26 outside of kindergarten, 26 is your closing number still.
Right.
Yeah.
That's still kind of the lid, and if I can at all avoid it, we hopefully we don't go over that number.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
On to letter C, professional learning update. Dr. Latham.
Evening board, and to continue on with Mr. Horton's years up and running, it certainly is. And as we look at the month of September, we start to get that professional development plan in place. And there's quite a bit of professional learning during the month of September that guides the remainder of the school year. So I have a little one-page flyer for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the PD that's going on, and then we'll also talk about the district staff development day, which is coming up on September 30th. So one of our main goals this year is to align our goals with our school improvement plan. We had the data that we brought summative data to you earlier in the summer and have created some long-range goals and short-range goals as a result of that data. So if you see in that middle area, the district goal areas, it's hard to see up there, but hopefully you can see it on your document. We have 4 key goal areas for the upcoming year. The first one is state required, and that is early literacy for the end of 3rd grade reading. And then the remaining goal areas are the academic core, college and career readiness, and climate and culture. So many of our professional learning opportunities are around implementing that school improvement, the plan to meet those goals. We have grade level collaboration and Java-like collaboration 4 times a year. And so we had our first ones are in September. We had secondary this last Wednesday, and we'll have elementary on September 28th. And this particular session was different than the others in that we rolled out our differentiated professional learning platform, which we've named Southeast Polk University. And so we had that information so that teachers can access that as it meets their individual and team learning needs. You can see for the remainder of the year at secondary, we'll be focusing on standards-based learning and working in our proposed grade level configuration groups. And at elementary, we're working on integrating curriculum, science, social studies, and computer science. We do have our staff development day on September 30th. And part of that day is spent with working with the new IEP platform, and I'll have Mrs. Morris talk about that here in just a minute. And the remaining part of the day, as we continue to grow and expand as a profession, there are more required trainings each year. And so we set aside part of this professional learning day for teachers to complete required trainings. They won't get them all done, but they'll have some time to do that. And those are housed in a platform called Safe Schools. And you can see what the required trainings each year are for teachers underneath that. So part of the day will be school improvement, part of the day will be required trainings. And we have a new IEP platform that's being rolled out by the state, and part of the day will be dedicated to that.
Yeah, so we had actually our first training with all of our teachers before school started. And now we have part 2 for our special education teachers on September 30th. And then secondary transition teachers have additional training with that. And then all staff will be part of the child find. And that is really talking about what does the structure look like for students who go through the process of being evaluated for suspected disability. So that will be on that day for all staff. So after those trainings, we have some more preschool Achieve training dates set up, and then we should be good to implement the new IEP.
So it doesn't take long for the day to be filled with learning tasks. So
Looks like a great agenda for the 30th. Guest speakers are great. The one was at the kickoff, did a fantastic job, but it's good to see in-house training like this. On the safe schools, Dr. Latham, the suicide awareness prevention and postvention is, can you tell us a little bit about that, or is it?
Yeah, that is a training that provides signs that teachers should be aware of, steps that they can take, referrals that they can make, and then it also addresses, what to do if there's immediate danger. So there's things to do overall to create that safe culture and environment. But if you suspect something immediately, what are those immediate steps that need to take? And then if the suicide is completed, what are those postvention steps that we can take to move forward and debrief and work with students? So it covers
Yeah.
all of those things.
Again, kudos to you or whoever designed that day. It's great. My concern, do we have a social worker in our district?
We do not have a social worker. We we have on-site mental health therapists that we partner with a number of different mental health agencies. And they provide therapists that will come for certain days of the week in the buildings to provide services.
Yeah, has there been any thought to like a mental health counselor or anything like that?
Well, we've actually been having conversations around
Oh, I'm
that.
reading your mind.
Yes, you are. So, we talk about, I won't get too far into it, but there's overall things that we can all do. And then we know that there are some challenges that exceed what we might have capable here at the school. And so we've been looking at, there are some programs now that will allow school counselors to add a mental health therapist endorsement. And there are opportunities for mental health therapists to add a school counselor endorsement. So we're exploring some of those options because the school environment is unique.
Because this is great that you're the safe schools part of it. So just that as a former teacher, if I'm being trained to what to look for, it'd be nice to have a next step if I do see some of those signs. Right. I mean, just trying to think ahead.
And I'll come visit with you later, but we did receive a social emotional behavior mental health grant. And so we are sending some teams of teachers to some external workshops to help build that capacity within our district as well.
I just think our district's been crying out for a mental health counselor type person. What'd you say, Tom? Or any of you guys? We just,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I'm glad to see you're doing this.
Thank you.
All right. Best topic of the night. Certified annual report.
This is normally the time when I tell you that we filed and it's done, it's over with, and I can go golf for a few more days. But it's not the case. As Dr. Lupnick alluded to, the state is having system issues with their report upload area, just timing out and server issues with that part of it. So the certified annual report is tied with the annual transportation report, is tied with the special education supplement. All those three reports are tied together. September 27th is the deadline. I have a more recent, a push forward deadline for my staff to get things done though, but we will be on time. We will schedule and submit by the 27th, probably be prior to that time frame. So by the October 13th date, you'll know when we have submitted, and you'll know by that time as well the special education deficit, since we'll have those numbers as well. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're really moving through this agenda tonight. The last item, board operating principles. Couple of meetings ago, we had a similarly short meeting, I think, followed by about 3 hours of discussion and sticky notes and collaboration. I thought it was a really productive time. And we were shepherded through that process with, we had Lou from IASB here, kind of helping us talk through that and organize our scattered thoughts. And then she took that output and drafted this document here that you see, the SE Polk Operating Principles document. Obviously, the purpose is that we're wanting to do our best work together as a team to be efficient, effective in the decisions that we have to make on behalf of our students, and making sure that we're staying focused on our mission and vision and everything. So this is really the output of kind of what we came up with, probably better worded than we were that long evening. So I guess tonight is really just an opportunity to discuss it. I think the plan was to talk through any questions or changes that people might have tonight, and then bring it back for a vote. I mean, part of it is our own kind of rules, our operating principles that we follow, but also part of it, I think, is modeling the way for our community and saying, you know, this is how an effective group can work together, you know, with civility and open-mindedness and everything. So with that, I guess I'd kind of leave it open to discussion, debate. If you guys have any questions about how certain things came about, or.
Well, President Crab, one thing I learned, I don't know about the rest of the folks up here, but I learned that anything we write out and stick up on that wall is gonna appear in a packet. I mean, true, it really is. So are you saying, trying to be serious here, this is a working document that we can add or subtract and make it our own, or what do you, or this is it?
This is kind of the proposed, it says draft on there because it's not
Right.
finalized at this
Right.
point. So it's open to further elaboration or changes.
Right.
So if there are specific things, I mean,
She obviously she did a great job,
Yeah.
obviously. Yep.
the idea is this is something that we all agree to. So if there are things that
Yeah.
are confusing or worded in a different way than we want, or we just want to change, we have the opportunity to do that. It's our document.
So we're kind of expected to live up to these things, right?
I would say that's kind of the point. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. What do the rest of you guys think?
I like the document when she sent it out or you sent it out, so I'm happy with our work.
I think she did a good job of summarizing and kind of putting things into maybe more efficient wording than we, you know, as a group, she did a good job kind of distilling what.
Making sense of our 10 PM work session.
Yes, yeah, no, I think I like it.
Well, I guess if you got any more comments, we can talk through it, or if something comes to your mind after you review it some more before the next meeting, feel free to reach out.
So is this like when we have the initial and secondary read through of the changes for the policy manual? So are there 2 read throughs and then a vote, or?
This is like I mean, this would be the reading, and I don't know if you call the next one a second reading, but
It's completely up to you
It's-
guys. It's not technically a policy. It's just
Right.
your.
Right, yeah,
agreement.
that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I guess that'd be a question. I mean, what are we gonna do with this document? I mean, where are we gonna put this? What are we gonna? You know what I mean,
I don't know, maybe up on the wall, maybe here in our placement. It'll be we'll put it out on the website. So, you know, we'll have reminders for ourselves and also to the community that this is kind of how we do business here at Southeast Polk
As a board.
as a board.
And are all these within the policies manual that we have all 9 sections of it? I don't want to policy.
I'm
I
not,
just want to make sure that we don't have any.
right, I'm not aware of any conflicts. Obviously, policy that's kind of our law, so to speak.
Right.
So that would trump anything that this document would have. This is more of
These are guidelines.
guidelines,
for
yeah.
us.
Right, I just want to make sure that the guidelines don't conflict with a policy. If we're gonna put it out there for the public to look at, we can't have conflicts in our guiding star and our policy.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
I guess the former activities director, I mean, I read a lot of handbooks in my day. If this is kind of like our set of like you said, guidelines or mission statement that we're trying to live up to? Is it the leadership team, or at least the president's job to, if there's some of us not following these things, to remind them, or I mean, how much, is it just something on paper, or is it something that's gonna have some teeth into it? That's
That was
gonna-
my concern at the
Yeah.
meeting, and
Yeah,
at that time it was said we were hold each other accountable, but
Right.
I'm not sure how that's,
right.
unless you have a lynching and.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
but
Right.
I
No,
mean, I'm okay with being held to high standards, just what's the, if one of us or two of us don't live up to this, what's gonna, I mean, how are we gonna monitor ourselves is what I'm asking.
I mean, I think that's a valid question.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope first line of defense would be that we'd hold ourselves to that. So if we realize that, oh, I stepped out of bounds for what, how I said I would act, then I would self-correct. But I think beyond that, I mean, any one of us could remind anyone else. I don't want this to be used as a way to attack, or, as a weapon against each other. I don't think that's the point of it, because the whole point of it is for us to be more, I guess, cohesive as a group. But certainly, I think kind of like anything that could be channeled through leadership, if that's what we want to do.
I mean, these are all good, but I'm just asking, are they gonna be posted on the wall like that mission statement back there and read every meeting? Or I've seen people that come to our meetings that point to certain things and call us out, sometimes I'm a little nervous of that.
Right.
I'm not nervous to be held to high standards. But I don't know if I want it on a wall, but
I would agree with you. I think that, I mean, it's a good document. We had a good conversation. I think if we allow people to use it as a weapon or as a club or, whatever, to call out the school board when they're not maybe in the closed sessions, or they're not part of conversations that happen, then I think it could go very wrong.
if your concern is whether these match our policies, then
Yes,
why
sir.
would it make a difference? You
It's-
still have to live by the policies, and you have to live by guidelines that we're setting for ourselves. I think they're good. And if you can't live by them, then maybe you shouldn't be on the board.
That's not at all what I said. What I said was, I
I
was
didn't say you
concerned
said
that, okay, well, I just wanted to clarify that my concern is that if the board has agreed on these and the board is following it, but somebody on the outside is saying, yeah, I don't think you're following it, and they're pointing to it and they're putting it out there, then that can be an issue, because if we agree that we're following it, then what does it matter?
It's the same thing as the policy. If they say you're not following us policy,
Well, it's just, I think I kind of see where they come from, because that's why when I said, hey, what are we gonna do with this? That was kind of the whole point. I think as an internal document, it's something that maybe we visit every year as a board together, kind of like with those sessions, and you talk about kind of how we should act, how we should do things. It could be a useful tool that way. I think to put it in print or put it in a handbook or put it in whatever else, I don't really see the point, because I just, you're kind of making, it's not like you're making useless policy, but you're making more, I don't know if you want to say guidelines, you know what I mean, for, it's like more government, more rules, more, you know what I mean, kind of like that kind of concept. But I think it's like an internal document or something for us to visit every year. I think building on this, or building and kind of shaping that to fit your board and kind of how things are going is a good thing. And you could kind of go down case by case and say, okay, this is kind of like our year in review, and this is kind of, some of the situations that came up, and maybe we violated this, or, you know what I mean? Like a learning document that way.
Right.
But I just don't think it's to have something else in print or something else in a handbook or something. It's not.
So to kind of use it as a self-evaluate, like evaluate ourselves every
Yes,
year. Did we uphold these standards that we, internally in the group?
Well,
No.
I think even more
It's a
of
good
a
reflection.
self-evaluation too, of, okay, did I do this, or, why did that go sideways? Let's go back to the document and see, which way did I not live up to this document,
Because it's a thoughtful document. And when I read through them, then, you automatically kind of scenarios come up in your head, and I'm thinking back, and so I think as a self-reflection tool, that's, like you said, that's a good thing. I don't think it's anything I would want, like you said, it to be something put out there and people point at, oh, you didn't hold the same view as everybody else, or, that kind of thing. But I think as an internal document or self-reflection, it is, you guys did a great job.
This,
So,
I agree with Tom totally and Brett. I really like President Crab, the third one, the foster good working relationships among us here. And I hope we, like it says, we'll take time to get to know one another and we'll spend time together outside of meetings. Being lawful of open meeting laws, commit to timely, honest and transparent communication with each of us. Boy, I mean, the whole thing's good, but I really hope I've said from the day I got elected, I would like to spend more time with the other 6 people. I learn something every time I meet with any one of you.
I also think this is good for incoming board members to say, this is the culture of the board. So they have something to look at.
Yeah, I guess I hear all that, but also like, I mean, if you go to our buildings, you go to Mitchellville, we were just visiting out there, every one of them, they have their leadership, they have their leadership and teachers and everybody, they have their collective commitments and they post it on the wall and they follow it. So I guess to me, I'm like, if we're really committed to the principles here, which as I read through them, they're all like pretty straightforward, like things that, I don't know,
Basic.
like just basic civility, common sense, good working relationships, all that kind of stuff. I struggle to find things in the list that I would say, yeah, sometimes I should follow that, but maybe sometimes I shouldn't. And so like, I get where anything that we say or do, and because we're in the public, could be turned against us. That could be anything we say in a meeting that happens all the time, or policies that we put out and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, there's always an opportunity of that. But when I read through the list, I guess I'm not finding things that, I'm like, oh man, I'm not sure if I would be able to follow through on that. I mean, that's kind of the point, is it's like a commitment. And it's a commitment to each other, to the group, more than it is a commitment to the world per se. But I like the idea of putting it out there and just saying, this is how we operate. So I don't know if that changes anyone's perspective, but that's kind of how I see it.
I'm good for posting it right behind Mr. Horton.
Yeah.
Got the nice big wall there.
And the reason that Chad organized us doing the workshop was to try and make us unified as a group, to work together when we're at our board table, not for the community to criticize us. It's so that we know what the rules are when we're working together at the board table. So I don't think any of these are difficult and or hard to follow while we're doing our board work. It's just an agreement for all of us to work together.
Kind of expand on Rick's. I think it should be probably a board leadership responsibility, though, that if these aren't being met, that even though we're not each other's bosses or we're
Right.
equals, but that is the responsibility, I think, just to have some checks and balances to say, this is what's come to the attention, and just have a open, honest conversation. Doesn't have to be in the meeting, but just say, hey,
Right.
someone felt, or we, whatever the case may be. Because otherwise, I don't think it's gonna matter. I think if it's a self-evaluation, I can look at this all day and say, oh, I don't do any of that. Well, I know I do. It was probably written, we probably did this for me. I just didn't realize it at the time. But seriously, I think it's a good document. And it is good self-reflection, but it's also good for the public to know that this is what they're trying to accomplish. And then we do need to have some checks and balances of saying, look, Brett, you're not doing it.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and an understanding that to be open to that, like I want to be told if I'm doing something to offend somebody else and be willing, that might be like at first not feel good, but then, well, how do you know how to improve without?
Yeah, because if we just sit in
Receiving
silence all the time and expect you to just correct yourself. I mean, sometimes you don't realize what you're doing. You don't realize you're interrupting, or you don't realize you're. Just being a pain in the butt and. It's. You need to have somebody tell you.
You've called me before and said, stop interrupting me. And you can still do that.
You called me.
Yeah, again, I'm gonna reiterate, I think it's a good document, so. And I think it's pretty basic with the rules of how we treat each other on the board.
I know this isn't a vote, but I would definitely in favor of posting it, making it public. Be proud of the things that we come up with to try to make our board better. I mean, that's basically the.
What about posting like just your category heads? I mean, something that's, but if you think like a promise statement, or I'm gonna put something on the wall, I want it to
Just
be,
lead by example.
I want it to be clear and concise, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
and then
that'd
that kind of falls into that document.
I
But if you like
agree
put
with
all
you
those headers
because-
up there and said, hey, as a
Yeah.
board, we collectively commit to lead by example and stay student mission focused and all that. Well, yeah, that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of neat and clean and clear, and I could see that on the wall.
Especially if someone's reading it, because that's a lot.
Yeah.
And then all of those bullet points, I think those are just examples. There's more things too that we can, that, you know, could fit underneath that header, so.
Yeah.
And that is true. If it's a working document, I think that would be, if those are gonna be the 5 topics, are there 5 or?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
It would be hard to read it all.
Focus
Right,
Yeah.
back there.
It'd be hard to read it all from
I
here.
mean, yeah, but it make it like when you're kind of neat and clean, then you have your 5 points, and then, yeah, like each,
Yeah.
You could just put it on our website under.
Could we add it
Board
to
of
this sheet?
Education.
each board would,
But I mean, on the back.
We have, yeah, we just did something
Yeah, not-
back there.
Yeah, but if you can make the print bigger, that would be good. Those are good each time.
Yeah, I think that's a good, I think that's a good point. It could be maybe, I mean, how we present it. We can
Mhm.
figure out the details of it, but it could be, I mean, there's stuff that you could definitely write out in our core values and priorities that would be more wordy. So we could have just kind of the main points up there. We could have our own copy of it in front of us. You could post that to the board on the website.
yeah, that could be something we revisit every year and kind of
Right.
adapt,
Yeah.
like our portion of it. Say, hey, we, you know, ran into this. maybe we need to-
Well, I would hope you read it more than once a year. I would hope you reflect on it all the time.
But maybe.
No, it's a
official-
working document.
Stay.
Yeah, like maybe we have a workshop
Yeah.
annually to review it, and then we can re-approve it and say, okay, because we're gonna learn things, hopefully.
Mhm.
Continuously learn things.
Yeah, because I like the headers. I think that would look, I mean, it's kind of a neat look and it's a very good read. It's a neat, clean read. And
Mhm.
to me, it's,
Well, that's
yeah,
for
it kind of
flexibility.
screams integrity when you read it.
Well, we don't need to stay here all night, but is there anything else? We could make this another 3-hour.
Yes, that'd be
Okay.
great.
All right, can I get a
Motion to
motion to
adjourn.
adjourn?
I will move to adjourn.